Hello all, it's John here, aka Old Man Sudor, and this is my 5 challenges to consider in Football Manager 2020. It's only a couple of weeks away now, so I thought I'd, instead of saying I'll be, 5 teams to consider or 10 teams to consider, because I personally think we all know what teams can be challenging, especially like in this season. You've got the likes of Bolton and Chelsea with their transfer embargo and all that sort of stuff. I didn't want to sort of pick a team. I think the best way for you to enjoy a save is by picking your own team, the team that you would want to be. So I wanted to instead just give you some ideas of some challenges that you can do in Football Manager. I've picked some that I think are long-term saves. I think I've picked some that are a bit more shorter term or could be shorter term saves. Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Let me know what type of saves you guys are planning on doing in Football Manager. This is only a selection. There's a lot more different saves you can do out there. I mean, if you go and Google it, there's tons of them. But these are some of the ones that I find enjoyable or I think are fun to do. So let me know what you think. And we'll get straight into it. And my first one is going to be probably, I think, one of the most popular types of saves people can do. Maybe don't even realise that it's called this type of save, but it's the lower league management save, and it is as it sounds on the tin. You start off in the lower leagues. Basically, when you create your manager, you will start in the lower leagues, or you will start with the lowest qualifications on your coaching, and then you will start in the lowest league. Obviously, in retail, well, if you'd say doing it with the English leagues, the lowest would be your Tier 6 Vanarama North or Vanarama South national leagues. Obviously, there are databases out there that mean you can go even lower than that. Probably the most popular one is the FM Editors. Goes down to Tier 10, as you can see here. I've got it loaded up, and you can go all the way down to level 10, and you get some very, very small clubs here. I mean, Hollyport, Milton United. No offence to them, but I've never heard of them. But there's so many different teams you can pick. It's absolutely unbelievable. You could go for your local side. You could go for a side that maybe you like the look of their kit, the side that maybe had some success in the FA Cup once or something like that. Really could pick any team you like. And the fun part about this save, I think, is then researching that club. You stick with one club in this save. You then basically build your way up through the leagues, all the way up to, say, the Premiership, and try and win it. Nowadays, I said, with databases and that, you can go a lot lower in the English leagues, and I think as well you can find them for a lot of the other leagues as well. So, where at the moment, say, France only has sort of 3 or 4 leagues, I think it is, you can now do a lot more than that. Germany has 3 leagues, actually. I've not loaded it up by accident, but you can maybe go down further. Same with Italy, Scotland, Spain. I mean, Loki Doki, obviously a well-known YouTuber, he had a special database to do the Fort William, it's a really fun save. You work your way through the leagues, and in the end, hopefully, you become Champions League winners or something like that. And it's so much fun, especially like with if you're England, you go down to say something like the county leagues and you pick Midland football, and you go and beat a team like Sporting Callas, whatever they're called, or Walsall Wood or something like that. So Walsall Wood, for instance, obviously must be based around Walsall. That means that they're going to have Walsall is going to be one of their big sort of rivals. Then you've got the other Birmingham clubs as well. Aston Villa must be just down the road. Birmingham just on the other side of the M6. West Bromwich must be around there. So, finally overtaking them sort of clubs would be interesting as well. And like I said, some of these clubs you might have heard from doing stuff, and that is from FA Cup or something like that, so it's always a good fun one to do. So that would be my first choice, guys, the low league management save. I think it's one of the most popular, and it's always really, really good fun. We'll get on to the next one now. Right, guys, for my next challenge, it's going to be the Journeyman Challenge. There's a couple of variations of this challenge you could do. So you could do what I call a domestic one, which is basically a bit like the lower league management I showed you, or something like that, where you start in England, you start at the very lowest you possibly can or you want to, whether you add a database or not. And then instead of sticking with that one club, though, you would maybe move through the clubs. So if you start off in Tier 10 and you get a chance to go to the National League North with a team or something like that, you'd maybe move clubs, and you'd do that 3 or 4 or 5 times, whatever it is, until you get into the Premiership and maybe a big club in the Premiership, and same sort of goal of becoming one of the best managers in the world, but instead by moving clubs. So you could do that one. You could do a home nation one where you've got the likes of, say, Scotland, England, Wales, Ireland, Northern Ireland, that sort of stuff loaded up, and you move around the sort of home nations really. Or you could do a European one where you start off maybe in Slovakia, and then you move to Norway, then you move off to Greece, and then you go to Belgium, and then you go to Germany and Italy, and again, you can go as far as you want to with that one. You could also do a world one, where you start off in Hong Kong, somewhere like here, Hong Kong, China PR, then you move over to South Africa, then you move to Brazil, then you move to Mexico, then you go to England, or you go to Germany or something like that. And basically, again, a bit like the low league management save, it's really fun. You find some of the clubs that maybe you'll find yourself supporting a little bit or checking out how they're doing, even though they're maybe in a country that you've never even considered looking at their football league or anything like that. There's also some very strange rules in some of these, especially in some of like the Asian clubs and that sort of stuff. There can be some really wacky rules in the league and that sort of stuff. So it's a really good fun save. I think this is probably the second most popular save. Let me know if you're doing one of these and what sort of journeymans you do, because they are really good fun saves. We'll get on to my next challenge. Right guys, my next challenge, save, whatever you want to call it, is going to be the Sir Alex Ferguson change. You start a manager unemployed, as I have here. You then go on holiday, basically. If it lets me do it, click on that. Go on holiday. You return from your holiday on, I believe it's the 2nd of November. Let me just double check that. But 2nd of November or 6th of November, it's one of the two. Let me just double check for you. 6th of November, there we go. So you return on the 6th of November. So you set that, go on holiday. Basically, we'll wait and see what happens. But basically, you pick the team second from bottom. And then it's all about emulating Sir Alex Ferguson, one of the greatest managers there was in the English leagues. Or British managers, whatever you want to call it. Obviously, we all know what he did with Manchester United, especially through the 90s. But yeah, people don't realise Manchester United were almost relegated, or were on course to be relegated until he took over. Can you win a league title? I think it was within something like 7 seasons. Can you win a domestic cup within sort of 4 or 5 seasons? Can you do double within sort of the first 10 seasons? And can you win the Champions League like Alex Ferguson did within sort of 15 seasons? So I think it was roughly around that sort of period. Obviously, the idea is you want to try and emulate Sir Alex Ferguson. So you want to use your youth, bring out a lot of youth players, a bit like Ferguson did when he brought the likes of Giggs and Beckham and Scholesy and Butt and the Nevilles and all that sort of stuff through. Obviously, this is going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to cut it quickly so you can see which team we would have got. But it's a fun little save. It can last quite a long time. It can last as long or as short as you like, really, on this sort of save. I mean, any save can, but yeah, this one is not too bad. We'll quickly do a little cut, guys, and then we'll come back and see what team we would have got. Right guys, so I have holidayed up to November 6th, and in this case you would have been Watford, and then you would have seen how well you could do. Like I said, you would have then tried to save yourself from relegation for the first season, then build the club up until they become the dominant force in the league. There is a different variation of this challenge, or I call it a different variation of this challenge, called the Big Sam Challenge. Instead of holidaying up to November the 6th, you holiday till the end of the January transfer, maybe sort of like January the 25th, 26th, something like that. Maybe give yourself a day or two just to buy 1 or 2 players if you desperately need it. You then take over the very bottom club. So obviously in this case it was Huddersfield, but it could have changed if we holidayed a few more months ahead. But then it's basically a short-term save in that case where you just try to save them for relegation. Obviously, it's called the Big Sam Challenge after Sam Allardyce, because he used to be quite well known for sort of saving clubs from relegation and taking these lower down clubs and that sort of stuff. Both of them are really fun. Obviously, the Sir Alex Ferguson one is a bit of a longer challenge. I think you can do it maybe over 10 or so seasons, 15 seasons. The Big Sam one, really, you only do it over a season, maybe 2. Again, if you wanted to carry on the save, you would carry it on. It wouldn't be a problem at all. That's going to be my third choice of save anyway, guys. Hopefully it's something that would interest you. We'll get on to my fourth one now. Right guys, so my next challenge is going to be rebuild whatever club it is you want to build. Basically what you do is you look at clubs that have maybe fallen on hard times, who were either successful in the past or were, a top division club in the past, and are now down in a couple of divisions, or maybe like a fallen giant or something like that. I've picked Coventry here. As you can see, they were a Premiership side. They were actually one of the longest serving or top division sides until their downfall in the 2000s, and as you can see, there's been a bit of a slow decline as they've moved down. Other teams that are quite famous, like Nottingham Forest, obviously had a lot of European success back in the 80s with Brian Clough and that sort of stuff. You could go to the beauty of this one is you can pick any sort of team, really. I mean, you could even pick someone like Manchester United or Arsenal, who maybe haven't won the league for a long time, that sort of stuff, and rebuild them. It'd be obviously a bit more of a shorter term save in that sense, possibly, but you could be like Coventry, Swindon, we're a Premiership side. Oldham have been in the Premiership, like I said, Nottingham Forest, even like Aston Villa. And as well as if you could go to Germany and sort of Stuttgart, somewhere like that, as well. There's the beauty of this save is that whichever league you pick or whichever country you pick to go to, there will always be teams that were a top tier side, maybe 10, 15 years ago, that have maybe fell out of favour, and that you can choose and you can rebuild them up, and then you take it as far as you want it. If you want to just be the successful team in the league, or if you want to try and get the successful in the European competitions, or if you're in South America in their versions of the Champions League and that sort of stuff. It's a really fun save to do, obviously, looking at the history of one club and working your way through trying to make them big and great again is a fantastic idea. So that's going to be my fourth choice of a save or challenge that you can do. Again, it's quite a popular one. Like I said, Portsmouth are probably a really famous one that a lot of people do. You could look at someone like Sunderland as well, who are obviously down in League One at the moment in the English leagues. Plenty of teams you could pick for this one. We'll get on to my last challenge. Right, guys, for my last challenge, it's going to be probably what I consider to be one of the biggest challenges you can do in Football Manager. It's called the Pentagram Challenge, and it is basically you have to win the Champions League, or the variation of the Champions League, in all 5 continents that you can play in on Football Manager. So as you can see here, you have Asia, Africa, Europe, North America and South America. All of them have a variation of the Champions League that you can play as. The idea is that you go a bit like a journeyman, you move to each different continent and you try and win the Champions League on each one. It's not a bad save, it's difficult, it takes a long while. I'd personally start in like Asia or Africa because they're a little bit more difficult, I feel, and then you can definitely move over to the likes of North America, South America, and then end up in Europe, something like that. Does take a little while. There is a few other variations, or I class it as a variation of this save. I call it the European pentagram, or it's called a glory hunter, I guess. And it's basically, as you can see here, you pick the 5 top countries in Europe. I think no one would argue that these are the 5 sort of big nations in Europe. And you try and win the Champions League with a club from each of these countries. You can do it as a glory hunter, where you try and win all the league and all the cups as well, and that sort of stuff. I think Dr. Benji's doing a save like that. But there's obviously, like I said, 1 or 2 different variations of the similar sort of challenge. Good fun. You get to move around and you get to sort of experience different nations and everything like that. That's going to be my choices, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed them. Remember to come and subscribe and all that to me, and follow me on Twitter and everything like that. Obviously, I will be doing my Aston Villa save to start off with. We'll do a few seasons of them, 3 or 4, 5 seasons, something like that. And then we'll get onto our main save, which is going to be a low league management save with Kettering Town. And we'll probably do some experience and that sort of stuff. Like I said, hope you enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure as always. I will see you very, very shortly. Bye for now.